Hello, I'm Kiran Patankar, President, CEO, and a Director of Maple Gold Mines. Maple Gold Mines is an advanced exploration and development company, well-financed, focused in the Abitibi region of Quebec, one of the best jurisdictions in the world to find massive gold projects. We've got an established resource at our Duway project of just over 3 million ounces. We've got a past-producing high-grade mine called Jutel, which is also on our 400 square kilometer land package. We just recently consolidated 100% ownership and have a great strategy and plan to unlock value going into 2025. Delighted to be here.
Kiran, good to see you. Good to see you. I haven't seen you since September with Beaver Creek. Good session out there. So congrats on the fundraising since I saw you. Look, tough year. You relieved it's over, or you kind of look back and say, I'm proud of what I've done?
I think we and shareholders should be very proud of what Maple Gold has accomplished over the course of the last year. We began the year obviously with a all the fundamentals were there. We always had the right geology, the right partner, great jurisdiction, infrastructure. But with what we've done over the course of last year, we now have the right team, the right deal structure, the right cost structure with cost discipline, proper, focused strategy from a geology, exploration, and delivering on milestones that are actually going to move the needle in terms of driving shareholder value. And importantly, we've got the balance sheet to execute. We're fully financed for 12 to 18 months worth of organic growth, which is an incredible achievement, especially considering what, the rest of the junior market has done over the course of the last year.
Right. Now, it's obviously great to say you kind of got a decent strategic involved with this, but you got to take matters into your own hand and kind of drive forward. So, let's start with Duway. You've got 3 million ounces already, and maybe for some of the listeners, viewers, readers of this who are new to the story, talk about what you started with at the beginning of this year and what the end goal is.
Sure. We started with a 3 million ounce pit constrained near surface gold resource, which 75% of that is in inferred, 25% is in indicated. The deposit as a whole has 250,000 meters of drill core. It's had a major company validate it in the form of Agnico Eagle. So the gold is there, right? But it sits on a postage stamp sized piece of our overall land package. The overall size of the deposit is 6 kilometers by 2 kilometers. And it straddles a first order structure in the Abitibi that's known to host gold. It's deep, it's mantle tapping. We control 55 kilometers of strike length. So what have we done over the course of the year? And obviously, the reason why you have a major as a partner and looking at projects like this is when you find something of critical mass, when you find something that's of high quality, when it's located as close to or adjacent to existing infrastructure in a great jurisdiction like this, it demonstrates the value that has. I mean, you can see, in the last year, there have been, especially the latter half of this year, there have been some large transactions involving junior and mid-tier companies that are focused in the Abitibi. I think we're well positioned. We're right there. What we need to do, of course, going forward is take the resource endowment that we have and show a path. If you took individual components of our deposit and you parachuted them into Mexico or another jurisdiction, for example, any one of those pits could potentially be a company making project, right? We have, multiple pits. And so people wonder, what is it? Are you trying to sketch in between pits? Are you extending along strike? Are you extending at depth? The answer to that is we have all of the potential. We have along strike potential, at depth potential, the potential to add and increase and improve the grade, not just the adding to the ounces at the same grade. I think what we're trying to do is upgrade the resource, improve confidence in the resource, demonstrate a path to economic production, and show that there's a roadmap to getting it from 3 million ounces currently to something more like 4 or 5 million ounces by next year.
I mean, that's going to be critical for you, isn't it? Because we obviously the news of the week is O3's takeout. They're in Quebec as well, and there's a few other kind of developers in Quebec who perhaps playing the waiting game. It seems so. For you, in terms of, do you just follow their strategy, their formula, or do you think there's more you can do, given you already got Agnico, in the camp, as it were?
Well, yeah, and the O3 deal was very interesting, but I think most of us that are looking in the camp saw the obvious transaction rationale for both sides there, right? Agnico's talked about their fill the mill approach. I think when they originally looked at Maple and Duway as a potential joint venture partner, which is not something that Agnico does often. they looked at it from that standpoint. When you compare Duway, for example, to Marban, they had 1.7 million ounces at just over a gram. We have 3 million ounces at just over a gram, right? And I would argue that what O3 did was it was the right strategy for O3. They sit right next to an existing mill with 40,000 tons per day of excess capacity. So building, for example, a mill on that project doesn't necessarily make sense. The geometry of the deposit, made some obvious synergies, from both a geologic and an operating standpoint. In Maple's case, we may be a bit farther from some of the existing, agnico infrastructure in the region. However, we are in the middle of Quebec. We are road accessible. We are grid connected. And we have a rail line, for example, that runs from, Matagami all the way down to Val-d'Or. So one of the things that I think we do is, to answer your question, is we are not playing the waiting game. We have support from institutional investors. We have a cash balance that, it's been a year's worth of fixing all the things that needed to be fixed at Maple, but we are ready to really go out and demonstrate the world-class potential of the Duway, not only Duway with the established resources, but also we have this past producing high-grade mine complex, to the south of us. It's on our same land package that, it's got 6 to 10 gram material that was mined for, the better part of 20 years when gold prices were at, sub $300 profitably by our partner Agnico. And so finding additional high-grade ounces, adding to the endowment, the potential to make new discoveries, all of that demonstrates not only, and again, the de-risking side, which we can talk about as well, is, we've added advanced project development people to our management team and board. We've spoken with, of course, our consultants, also with Agnico, to get some broad criteria as to what they're looking for in terms of, an operation that would see its own standalone mill, what it would look like if it was to utilize existing infrastructure in the region, which certainly, makes a lot of sense for us. So I think we have a rare combination of, validation from a partner of size, of scale, best-in-class operator in the region, lots of geologic upside potential, established resources that can be easily de-risked. And again, O3 was taken out at a rough value of $75 per ounce. We trade currently at $4, right? So the goal, our stated goal is, and the foundation of our strategy going into 2025 and beyond, is closing that valuation gap between where we are and, a theoretical takeout value. Even if we were to get halfway there next year, it represents 8 times the value of our current, where we're currently trading. So I think there's a lot of upside, and there's a clear strategy, obviously, to unlock value. But I congratulate O3 and Agnico for doing a very, very strong deal for their respective shareholders.
Right. Okay. So, and I want to kind of come back to that, how you position yourself for success thing in a second. So just be really clear. So the infill drilling, step out drilling, I was targeting new discoveries, obviously, and trying to understand what you've got better. Is that the bulk of what you're going to try to do by the end of next year, or are there other things that we need to be looking at as well?
No, that's the majority of it. Of course, it starts with drilling. You can see a nice snapshot of the camp behind me that was taken last week when I was out at site with our team.
Nice.
We've got snow flying
Cold.
in Quebec. Yeah, it's cold. It's not as cold where I'm sitting today. Obviously, I'd had my parka on, but it's perfect for us. We like cold. We make hay while the ground freezes, right? Because of our Douay deposit. The Douay deposit it really does necessitate having cold weather to be able to mobilize rigs, etc. So the drilling program is anticipated to start. It's a 10,000 meter minimum program. It's anticipated to start in January. And that program will focus on all the things you just mentioned. Some strategic infill, probably 30%. A lot of resource expansion, near resource expansion, both along strike and at depth, particularly at depth where there's more. In the Abitibi in particular, you see a lot of depth continuity, less so in the lateral sense. So there are some things not going for those 2,000 meter deep holes, $800,000 a piece holes that didn't really return a lot of value. Much more targeted, focused, based on geology and geochemistry and all the proper vectoring that we've done. That has significant potential to drive value. And then, of course, drilling perhaps 10% of the discovery targets, greenfield targets that we have across the property. So there's the discovery focused de-risking through exploration drilling, which is going to be starting in January. During the course of the year, there are going to be work happening behind the scenes that are driving us towards an updated mineral resource estimate towards the back half of 2025, using drilling that we've done since 2022, updating estimates, working with our partner to see what works in the Abitibi, what doesn't, coming up with something that looks even better geologically constrained with a better model, and then driving that towards a scoping study internally, which can drive a PEA, within the next 12 to 24 months.
Right. I like stories that have a kind of commercial reality to them. There's a plan, right? And we've seen a lot of developers sitting around, they've got 5 million ounces. Nice, 5 million ounces. At a surface level, that sounds attractive. But there's 5 million ounces and then there's 5 million ounces in the sense that I want to try and understand how you create a picture, you create a narrative where you can have conversations with an Agnico or similar. Like, I appreciate O3, there's some strategic infrastructure benefits to that. How do you do more than just, I'm going to move inferred into indicated? What do you need to do to have a conversation with, and if it's not an Agnico, another mid-tier or major, and say, look, this thing is commercial. Let me show you how.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think, when you see a project in Quebec, which again, one of the best jurisdictions, it's being backed up by, what little M&A we are seeing seems to be focused on better quality jurisdictions, particularly in Canada. The erosion of the Canadian dollar, which is another story in and of itself. I mean, merits, you're getting a Canadian dollar gold price, and your cost base is in Canadian dollars. You're getting US dollar gold price and your cost base in Canadian dollars. So showing again that, in the case of an Agnico or a large major company, there are certain bars that you have to achieve to move the needle from a production standpoint. Now, this is one of the reasons why, while we have the better technical and strategic alignment, than we have had in the past 4 years with our partner, we have the ability to drive the project to create value for Maple shareholders, all Maple shareholders. Obviously, Agnico is our largest, but we have a lot of shareholders here that we're trying to drive value for. An operation that is economic, that's in this part of the world, even if it is 100,000 ounce a year of production or 150,000 ounce a year of production, maybe that project doesn't necessarily move the needle for, a major company. But for a junior company like us, for a mid-tier that has aspirations of growth and stable growth and in a good part of the world, that is something that actually moves the needle, especially if there's upside potential, right? So I think the dual strategy that we have, always Maple has talked about, and certainly the work that we had done with our partner, was focusing on how big can we grow the deposit. But I think while we're always looking for, making that new discovery, for example, and I think drilling is the key catalyst for every junior company, but especially for us, knowing the endowment that we have, knowing all the geological attributes, knowing that there's potential there for a blind discovery of, something like Odyssey or Goldie, which was discovered by Agnico beneath, Malartic. Malartic open pit had a similar grade profile and a similar sort of size profile to Duway, and going deeper has obviously extended that operation by 20, 30 years. So finding those types of new discoveries is really important, but also showing that what you have, even if it's a portion of the 3 million ounces, maybe it's 1.5 million, 2 million ounces that are actually economic. Maybe it's a combination of open pit and underground. Maybe it's utilizing existing infrastructure in the region. Maybe it's building its own new infrastructure. We're trying to drive return on investment. We're trying to drive internal rate of return. We're trying to drive value, right? So that's really, it's a two-pronged approach, but it's very cohesive when it comes to attracting not only an interest of a major like Agnico, but also others that should be attracted to, a company that has an arguably below market valuation, just given all the positive attributes.
Well, yeah, like I say, it's been a tough year. I think a lot of companies would argue very strongly and vigorously that they're undervalued. They always have done, but I think more so now. Which brings us on to, I guess, one of the other aspects of the company. I look at your market cap. I look at what share prices has done. I say it's not unusual. It is what it is. Is how do you finance this drilling? You're talking about some intelligent drilling process here. We're not going to go deep and blow our brains out. But, it's sort of sub 300 meter type level. You need those drill results to actually tell a story in the market, to kind of drive interest, because a lot of people out there saying the same sorts of things and just not getting any attention at the moment. So again, for you, the important things that people need to recognize and look at for, now and next year will be what?
I think it's, again, the share price has been range bound since we released our last drill holes, right, on the project in August 3rd of 2023. which really coincided with my, a few weeks after is when I took over as interim. And then, we know the story. We've talked about this, but since then, the stock has been trading in the range of, between, about 4.5, 5 cents and 9 cents, right? But it's been trading off of the back of no new drilling news, right? Lots of restructuring, lots of work that had to happen behind the scenes to really drive value. I'm convinced getting back out onto the property, we still sit at a $2,700 gold price. We have all the chaos agents and all the things that are happening in the world. So, macroeconomic issues that aren't in our control, I think, remain favorable and constructive. And as we pointed out, the disconnect between junior company valuations and the gold price has never been greater. So how do we catalyze value, and what do we expect going forward? How do we fund our drill programs going forward? Success begets success. One of the reasons why we've kept our powder dry, one of the reasons why we have properly funded the company is rather than just look over our shoulder and go drill hole program to drill hole program or drill hole to drill hole, we want to think strategically. When you have a land package this big, in an ideal world, you'd be putting 20,000 meter, 25,000 meter programs every year. If you're a 9-figure market cap company, you're raising 10% of your market cap every year, $10 million, and putting it right into the ground. What needed to be set up for us to get to that point where we have a chance to do it is we needed to go, as I said in the beginning, I was going to set the right foundation for this company to grow. We were going to put a proper deal in place. We were going to properly finance the company. We were going to demonstrate through good geoscience, most importantly, that we've got a better and a different approach than, the previous team. Instead of just throwing money down the hole, we're going to make sure that the last thing we do is drill the hole, that we have a very good sense not only of what we're trying to drill, what does success look like, how does it drive, either increasing the ounces that we currently have, increasing the quality of the ounces that we currently have, or getting us better information that shows the market that this is a mineable economic deposit. That is what we're trying to do. I'm convinced that once we get out there again in January, I know there's been a lot of investors, new investors, that have continually asked over the course of last year, when are you drilling? When are you drilling? When are you drilling? And I understand that, right? I thank all the existing investors for their patience. When I went out on the road after you and I met at Beaver Creek, we marketed for 3 weeks. We talked to the institutions. We presented the Maple Gold story with the restructured deal, with 100% ownership, with the continued backing and alignment that we have with our partner at Agnico Eagle. And we got strong support, right? We got strong support for going out and actually expanding the program, making it bigger. So when you look at the budget that we're actually putting into exploration and development activities next year, it's over $6.3 million. That's one of the biggest programs that we've had, even during the course of the JV programs that we did with Agnico. So we're set up well. Obviously, we need to have success. The targeting approach and philosophy is not, we're not drilling just safe holes or twinning holes, things like that. We're still going out, getting after it. But I think we're going to be able to, with the endowment we have, and you can see some other companies that have done good geoscience. Probe is a great example. Everywhere they drill on their property, they find gold, but they have to constrain it. They have to advance it. They have to show that they've got an economic plan with upside. It's a very similar strategy for us. If you look at Probe's valuation today, they're over 300 million, right? Again, Maple trades at 25. So that's the kind of upside that we're talking about. And I think it's really going to be driven by a fully funded organic growth strategy over the course of 2025. Funding after that remains to be seen. Markets are vague. We don't know exactly. We don't have a crystal ball. But I think this company is better set up than most companies for success, just given the fact that we raised money in the right way with our partner at a massive premium, using flow through with institutions. We raised all of our money over the 10 million we raised over the course of the last couple of months, 12 cents, 8 cents, and flow through 6.5 cents, right? We traded 5.5 today. So again, I look at this and go, it's silly season, tax law selling, all these other things, but I think getting back after it next year with a cohesive plan is what's really going to drive value for the company and for shareholders.
Kiran, appreciate you coming on so close to Christmas. One of my favorite turnaround stories, one of my favorite stories with regards to strategy. I'm excited for what you're going to do with that money next year in terms of drilling. Stay in touch, please. I want to see how you get on.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to get to know you better over the course of last year. Appreciate your interest in Maple Gold. Want to wish you and all your followers a very happy holidays, and thank you for taking the time. Look forward to great things coming in 2025.